do we think, brothers, we can be disconnected from God that we came out of and win? We cannot win disconnected from the thing we came out of. Believers should be walking around with that boldness. I wasn't built to preach. I've made my mind up, and I encourage you to make your mind up to trust God till the wheels fall off. And then if the wheels happen to fall off, I'ma still trust God to replace the wheels or repair the wheels. And if God don't give me new wheels, I'ma trust God for some wings. But I'm not gonna stop trusting God. But early on in my ministry, I'd only been preaching maybe a year and a half, and we went to an event with the South Texas Association, and I was a guest speaker. And once I heard this man preach one time, I said, wow, I've never heard preaching like that before. I've never seen an orator captivate a crowd like that before. I didn't know who he was, but God worked it out where they came and got me out of Fifth Ward. And as an adult, I had grew up in one church. My whole family went to the same church. No one had ever left this church. My family all went to the same church. No one ever left this church. And I came home and told my grandmother, I said, I'm going to church on the other side of town. And she said, baby, we didn't raise you like that. I said, but now you don't understand. The call on my life has to be cultivated in the right kind of soil. And God has sent a man that can help guide and nurture the gifts inside of me. So as an adult, for the very first time, when I got a chance to pick my own pastor, I picked Pastor Remus Wright. That was 25 years ago. And the seeds he sowed into my life then are still being manifested today. I am who I am. The swag that I carry myself, the charisma and personality was because I spent quality time with a man that taught me how to master the pulpit with God's oratorial gifted word. So I want to present my pastor for a lifetime, Dr. Pastor Remus Wright.
Thank you, Pastor Deckard. You may be seated. How I truly honor God and thank God for being here in this place tonight. Certainly to the honorees, Pastor Eddie Andre Deckard, First Lady Sandra Deckard, and the wonderful job that you all are doing to this fine church, and to those singers that sang us happy. What would church be like without good singing? Man, I tell you, I've been in enough churches to hear bad singing. It's a blessing when you can be in a climate where there's good singing. This is long overdue, and I told Pastor Deckard that it was. Let me just say from the very outset, as a young pastor, Pastor Deckard was my first real minister. And when I say real minister, I'm not talking about preachers that were at the church or on staff or whatever. I'm talking about people that ministered to my needs. He was my driver. I'll never forget, at that time I had a white Lexus LS 400. And he used to do all the driving. Because if anybody know anything about me, you know I don't drive too well. And so he was the driver. And we had a lot of time to break bread and share and talk and just have conversations. And it was wonderful because it gave me an opportunity as a young pastor to pour into him some very valuable principles about ministry. And the first principle about ministry that every pastor should know: don't ever allow yourself to get above the needs of your people. Amen. I don't care how high God takes you. I don't care what level you go to. I don't care how many people you have in your congregation. If your heart is not leveled to the needs of the people, you have failed as a leader. That's right. You failed as a leader. But the second thing was to always recognize that ministry is not to be done in a vacuum. You must go outside the church walls to reach people. Because the same people that come to hear you preach on Sundays have family members who are struggling and writhing in pain because of conditions either in their family, their home, their neighborhoods, or their communities. And so if you are to pastor, you are to pastor the entire community. I don't believe any pastor is called just to pastor church. I pastor the entire Southwest community. Even though the people that are in Southwest Houston may not attend my church. My attitude is, it's my responsibility to pastor the entire community. That's right. Not to proselyte people to come to my church from other churches, but whenever there is a need, whenever there is a gang-related problem, whenever there is a food desert, whenever there's a legal desert, whenever there are circumstances in the community that we all know that government will not fix, if they feel like they can get by without fixing it, God has placed us in leadership to be the voice of the voiceless. That's right. To be the hope of the hopeless and the strength of the strengthless. And I'm so very proud of you, Pastor Deckard, the wonderful job you've done, man. I mean that. I am so outstandingly proud of what God has done in your life. You know, it's amazing. It's amazing. I tell him back in the back, man, you don't smile as much as you used to. But, you know, it is a joy. I know the disturbances that we face as pastors. But Greenhouse, you are richly blessed in this place. Amen. You're richly blessed. And Deckard family, you're richly blessed. Because I know that, you know, the joy here, he has his two brothers with him. You know, John and Danke are with him. And they're here to support him, to hold up his arms. So it positions him where he can be free in ministry because he knows he's surrounded by people he can trust. Don't ever mistake that. It's always important, especially the higher you go. The higher you go. When he was with me, our congregation was smaller than this. I've lived my life now to see tens upon tens of thousands of people flow through the doors. And while it's a great experience for people that need that to feed their ego, let me say that again. While it's a great experience for people that need that to feed their ego, for those of us that take ministry seriously and know how desperately people are hurting, it makes it difficult because one man cannot do everything to heal everybody. Amen.